If by any chance you have a penis, there are 10 things that you should never do, and we're going to look at them. And there is someone who keeps correcting me about the pronunciation of penis. Is it a penis or a penis? We can check that quickly. There should be penis. Yeah, I think I get his point because the vowels. What else? Pronunciation.
Penis.
It's a penis. Yeah. Maybe you can stick to your penis, I stick to my penis. So long as you understand what we are talking about here, that's all that matters. Let's start with the first one. You should never, ever ignore any discharge. In women, it's normal to have discharge close to ovulation, close to getting their menses, after their menses. We have some that are very normal to them, and we've talked about that. We have others that are abnormal. We've also talked about that. You can scroll back and you'll find that video back there. But for men, you should never, ever have discharge unless you are sexually aroused. And we tend to also have another disadvantage in that it's hard to tell the difference between a UTI an STI. So any discharge should be checked whether you have signs and symptoms or not. And if you have signs and symptoms, actually you should be running to the hospital. Now the disadvantage is because we have urethra that serves both to pass urine and also to pass, semen. So it's hard to know whether this is an STI or a UTI. Because in ladies it's differentiated. We have urethra and also we have the vagina that usually can tell the difference between those two. Although we also have an advantage. We have a smaller surface area when it comes to the mucosa compared to women. Meaning that once you get an infection, it's quite easy for you to notice that earlier compared to women. Also, the smaller surface area also get to be an advantage in that it reduces chances of us acquiring a disease. We have tests which are very simple and sometimes very cheap that can comprehensively give us a picture of what's going on in case you have a discharge. One of such is urinalysis. We get to check that under a microscope, or maybe there is a strip that usually tells us the parameters of so many things in that urine. Because that urine is passing through urethra, we can easily pick if there is an infection. Don't sit on that discharge and only show up in the hospital when you're having fertility issues due to the spread of that infection. Number 2, never ignore disappeared testes or both testes, because once they disappear and get inside, they can get cooked by the body temperature. You see, there is a reason there is a container, that sac, the scrotum, which usually keep them outside. In case the temperature is high, they sag. In case the temperature is low, they shrink and bring them closer. This is to make sure that that temperature doesn't fluctuate so much. So they sag and shrink to make sure that the temperature is standard for production of sperms. In case that temperature stays standard and high, you're going to destroy the factory. And now sometimes an accident can happen and you get an accident down there, one disappears, get inside, or maybe just something happened, just miraculous. Things happen. Our bodies are, they can do anything they want, but they can one of them can disappear or both. You should just directly go to a urologist so that they get to be, removed and forced out. Now we have another scenario when a kid is young, a boy is young. Sometimes they usually disappear and they usually come out at times. But if you so happen to find that they're not coming out, there's a very simple thing that you can do. Just give them a warm bath. So what's going to happen is the body will warm up and then they're just going to come out because maybe they were shivering and they decided to just go out there and hide. But if they're not coming out, or if you can only see one, they should both be there. If they hide, both of them are hiding. If they're out, they should be out, both of them. If only one is showing up, the other one is not, you also should go get that checked out, because that one which is stuck in there can develop testicular issues. One of such can be testicular cancers. So make sure you get that checked. And if you are asking if you can reproduce with only one testis, yes, you can. You produce millions of them. So the number might not be that affected, apart from a little bit of testosterone, but you can reproduce comfortably with that one. So you should never ignore missing testes or testy. The third thing that you should never do is expose them to high temperatures. We've talked about that. You have a thermostat. Usually make sure that that temperature is standard. It's usually 2 degrees lower than that of the body. So that would be 37 minus 2, around 35. Now we have external sources of it, like maybe you are a chef, or maybe you are spending most of your time in a bathtub with scorching water, or maybe you are taking hot showers for an extended period of time. Now, if you want to be reproductive, you need to reduce exposure to that heat externally, because it lowers the production. It alters the factory. Maybe you're a chef, you spend most of your time close to a heat source. The best thing that you can do here is trying to see if you can do another thing in a department that does not require you close to a heat source. Or you try to compensate, like taking cold showers, cold plunges. There are things that you can do that will try, to compensate for that in as much as staying away from heat source. It's the ultimate best thing. Another question I usually get all the time, do diapers affect baby boys? Not really when they're still young, not really. I have not seen anything that says otherwise. The only point that they are going to be affected is past puberty, because this is the time when the factory is up and working, and it requires temperatures that are highly regulated, and that's why it's not really advisable to continually wear something that is so binding to the body, something that is pulling it closer to the body. Number 4, never get aggressive in the bedroom. You are not a jackhammer, you can easily get a fracture. So there is nothing you're trying to prove here. The goal, the end point here is for both of you to have fun, and you want to have this fun for a long period of time. So just don't be aggressive. You can easily get a fracture. Yeah, we understand there is no bone there, but you can still get a fracture when you are erect and then something happen and there is a twist all of a sudden, you can get a fracture. And those fractures can easily affect how you're going to have fun in the future. So don't be aggressive in the bedroom, just be normal, just have fun as two normal human beings. Stop proving something, just try your best. Number 5, and we're talking about penis sizes here. Do you see those pills and those creams and concoctions usually buy behind behind the counter, sometimes in some dark corners of the streets, to try to increase the size of your penis? They don't work. I've never seen any that works. If there is any, this is a huge business. The big pharma, what you call big pharma, could be having that in their shelves. Trust me. So this is just someone who is banking on the insecurities and the fact that you cannot come back and say, hey, it did not work. So they will continue selling on that insecurity. So first of all, the best thing that you can do to your body is get to know, can you reproduce? Can you satisfy your partner? If you can be able to achieve that, that's all that matters. Others usually go to an extent of buying, some very aggressive pumps, some usually gel aggressively. Now you're just exposing yourself to the danger of injury. And remember, your DNA dictates the sizes, the structure of your body. All the body organs are somewhere written in a blueprint in your body. Number 6, never use Viagra or other drugs that usually enhance erection just for fun, unless this is a recommendation from your doctor, because our bodies has this tendency of, you help it in doing something, tomorrow it will just sit down and watch you. Like for example, you start enhancing testosterone, like you have you just start injecting yourself with testosterone without any indication of requirement of such. You might find that it becomes low in producing that testosterone. So when you stop, you find that you're suffering from low testosterone levels. That's the body. It can be notorious. And trust me, if you introduce something to the body that has the tendency of triggering production of dopamine in the system, you can develop dependency on that. You can get addicted to that. You find that next time you're not able to function properly without using that thing that usually, enhance whatever process in the body. Can be you want to feel high. Can be that you want to have that erection. So just stay away from that unless it's specifically indicated by your doctor that you should take this. And by then, if you're taking Viagra or those PDE5 inhibitors, and you happen to use any other drug that contains nitrates, it can give you hypotension. So it's really not necessary for you to use them at all, unless this is your doctor telling you to do so. Number 7 has to do with masturbation. Now, by now we understand that physiologically nothing much will happen to the body, but excessive masturbation will give you troubles. Can be injuries, can be desensitization, can be reduction in semen volume. Also, I've seen people showing up later in life with erectile dysfunction with a history of aggressive masturbation sometimes in their lives. So if you've not started, don't. And I've talked about positives and negatives of that. You can scroll back, and my stand will always remain, don't do masturbation. Try your best to go get a partner and just practice that safely. Number 8, never ignore an erection going for a long period of times, like beyond 2 hours. Don't. That's a danger. There is something called priapism, whereby the blood gets into the chambers and makes you erect, but then that blood is not able to leave. It can be maybe there is a clot, maybe you have sickle cell, there is something blocking the veins that are now draining your penis. Now that one, you really need to go and see a urologist, because it needs to be drained out. Otherwise you're going to lose any capability of having an erection in the future. So try your best to make sure that if you are getting an erection which is staying there more than 2 hours, go direct to a hospital. Let that be dealt with so that they get to salvage that situation and also get to correct that in case it's something that is correctable. Like you might have maybe overdosed on a PDE5 inhibitors. Try your best to not let it go beyond 2 hours. Still on this one, any discomfort to your testis, there is something called testicular torsion, whereby there is twisting and then blood supply is cut to either one of them or both of your testes. Try your best to, if you have any discomfort, don't sleep on it. Just go to a doctor, to your urologist, and they're going to see, because this is usually a medical emergency. It need to be corrected as soon as yesterday. Number 9, by any chance, never let this bug bite your foreskin, if at all you do have a foreskin. I don't have any scientific background on what it does to the foreskin yet, but I have a quick story. In African traditions, you find that age groups are usually defined by the period of circumcision. If you are circumcised together, you are friends. It doesn't matter the age, so long as you are circumcised together, that's one age group. So sometimes your parents were not prepared to a point where, hey, they don't want you to join that because they are not prepared yet. Maybe they've not built for you, they've not, put things in order. Sometimes even the level of education can determine whether you're going to join that age group or not, because sometimes you find that most of the time after class 8, you get circumcised, so that by the time you're going to Form 1, that's you get to, get circumcised. But sometimes you are not yet there, or you are younger than that. We have dynamics in that. So something that those boys could do, because they don't want to be left by their friends, they would look for that particular bug. And it's quite common where we have maize plantations, and they will let that bite their foreskin, and they get inflammation that is so bad to a point where the only thing that can be done there would be just to circumcise. Maybe at this point, we also still on number 9, we should also mention zips. Make sure, first of all, the guy is well tucked down there before you zip, because you can zip yourself. You can zip your foreskin, and I've seen that thing is terrible, and it's quite painful, and it will lead to your circumcision. I've seen so many people who have to go through circumcision because of a zip. I'm not saying that that's the thing that you can do to try to force your parents to doing that. It's terrible. Don't do something. Don't do harm to your body. Once I get to understand what it injects into your foreskin to make you get that information, then I'll come and update you, because I'm really curious to know what it and the composition of whatever it injects into the body. Finally, never urinate onto a fence, and especially if it has anything metallic in it. It can be electric fence, and you know what might happen after that. It's a stupid point, but it's still valid. I've had people who've had electric shock just because of, men, you'll feel good when you're urinating somewhere close to a bush, or maybe onto a fence, just across the road. So don't urinate on something metallic. Try your best to not do that, especially on a fence. Anything that seems to be metallic, by any chance, ignore that. Let that land on the ground, if at all you must do that. I know 2 or 3 of you have been, pissed off by my last point, and one of such must be Shiko. You must be pissed off. She really hates that, but I don't know. Anyway, the best thing that she can do here is just subscribe, and it's fun when you are Armenian. Thank you for the silver button, and also for getting me to 125,000 on YouTube. I really appreciate that. Now, if you want to know what will happen to you if you stay for long without any sexual activity, you can check this video here for men and this video here for women or females, or whatever else they are calling them nowadays.